I wanted to say we are live. Yay! And we are live. We are live. We are live. I love it when it says we are live. Hello everybody. I know obviously people will probably still be joining us because people will be still coming from work and fetching kids. And anyway, we are in South Africa. Hello everybody. It's 18:01 p.m. in South Africa. Good afternoon if you are in South Africa. Good morning if you're in another part of the world and it's the morning. Good evening if you are in another part of the world and it's the evening. And hello to everybody who's going to watch this days and months after we have gone live. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Bongeka Mhlongo, and I'm the author of this book, Thinking in Full Color, which is really the foundation for the Full Color Leader series, Conversations. And today I am joined by an amazing woman that I met this year, Dr Keleabetswe Malepe, who so happens to be the cousin, but we'll get into that, of one of my favorite humans in the whole world, my friend who I love with everything in me, Ridumete, who I call Dooms. She's my friend, she's your cousin. So, and we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic today. But before we get into that, I always like to just do a check-in with my guests. Girls, I'll call you girls, as I've been calling you girls. How are you doing?
Fine. That's fine. I'm doing fine, Bongi. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm all right. So I always, before we get into the conversation, I always like to check in with my guest in terms of their expectation for the conversation or their intention. So I want to maybe start there around what would you love to achieve from our conversation today?
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me on your platform, inviting me. I'm very honored to be a guest. So taking away from the conversation, I think I want people to learn. The space that I'm in is not very common among Black people.
Yeah.
There are a number of us. Yes, there are quite a number of us. You'd be surprised, but it's still not as common as we'd like it to be, you see. So I want people to learn. I want people to embrace the knowledge. I want people to ask questions. Basically just exposure of the profession. And yeah, just knowledge sharing.
That's beautiful. I love that. And it's so true because I think one of the pieces when we met, talking about, we met at my friend's sister's party and we were sitting next to each other, and then I think we traveled together afterwards, and then you started telling me that you're a vet, and I was like, what? I had never met an African or a Black vet at all.
Yeah.
But I do not know also whether it's also because I think I mentioned to you that I don't consider myself a pet or a livestock person. So it's interesting. We will get into that when you say that I caught a number of people, but it's not a popular topic. So okay,
yeah.
I think maybe there's three things that triggered me, for lack of a better word, in terms of why I wanted to have this conversation with you. The first being, I've mentioned this, and I think a lot of my friends would know I'm not a pet person. Like the only animals that I like, and it's crazy. I like the animals that we can eat, obviously livestock or byproducts of those animals, or the animals that can eat meat, like the lions, and those are the animals that I like. But like a while ago, I saw a dog being chained. I won't mention where because for particular reasons. And there was a part of me that just like the dog was chained, and almost like as if this person was not taking care of the dog, right? Like, and the way the dog, like, it was raining, the dog was changed to this same position, the way everything, I think like the dog was what's the word, secreting there. And I remember feeling so heartbroken, and I thought, like, why am I feeling so heartbroken? Because I don't consider myself an animal
A
person, but
pet
my
person,
heart
yeah.
broke. My heart was
Mm,
so, and I started
mm.
thinking to myself, should I contact the SPSA? Is that
Someone,
the animal?
SPCA, SPCA,
Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, there was that component. And then the second component of it was obviously the part that we touched on about, talking about the fact that I'd never met a black vet. So I was intrigued to find out how you got into this, because I know my dad always said to me that if ever there were opportunities in South Africa, we obviously know the social political context of this country, that there was not a
Yeah.
lot of opportunities for African people to get into fields like, being a vet, So I wanted to explore, how was that journey like for you? And then the last piece, because the topic for today is about animal welfare, pets and
Yes.
livestock care during the Christmas and holiday season. And the reason why I positioned it like that is I find that we have an over index and an over obsession with the human consciousness during this holiday season. We obviously, again, eat a lot of animals. I don't know if that's something that maybe you will debunk but I assume we do. But also, I don't know if we even take care of animals, because on New Year's there's a lot of fireworks that most of us
Fireworks. Yeah.
do. And
Yeah.
I wonder, what's the sensitivity around taking care of our pets during that time? So those are some of the reasons maybe why I wanted to have this conversation, right? So, but yeah,
Yeah.
so that's just the context. So for everybody who's listening to us, to just get a framework. But maybe before we get to the meat of the conversation, girls, I want to connect with you as a human. Maybe let's start at the beginning. Who
Yeah.
is girls? Like, talk to us about, where did you grow up? Who are your siblings? Your parents? Yeah. Who are you as a human?
Okay. So my name is Keleabetswe Malepe. I was born and raised in Pretoria, in a township called Mabopane, just north of Pretoria. I grew up with both parents, with Umelo and Joseph Malepe, both still alive today, 70 years old. I'm very grateful for that. And I also have two older sisters, Kiahile Malepe and Refilwe Malepe. Sadly, Refilwe passed away in 2010. So it's just myself and Kiahile at the moment. Yeah, just the two of us. So yeah, growing up, typical township childhood, if I may put it that way.
Yeah.
Sharing chores, sharing
We
family
know that.
time, cooking, But I think the best times was going out to play in the streets. That was the best
Mm,
for me.
mm,
I had a lot of friends in our street, and every day after school, you drop your bag, you do your chores, off you go and play in the streets. During the
mm,
weekend, same thing, do your chores in the morning and disappear for the whole day and
mm.
be scared actually to come back home because where have you been the whole day? And what did you eat?
Yeah.
So you come back at like 6 p.m. in the evening and you're literally scared to go into the yard because your mom is going to be shouting at you. But I think those were the best days, some of the
Yes.
best days of my life, because that's where I
Mm,
learned about love. That's where you learn about family. That's where you
mm,
learn about sharing. That's
mm,
where you learn diversity and
mm,
not being judgmental. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Because we are exposed to so many different types of people and individuals and families and backgrounds. And even though you are not conscious of it at 7, 8, 9 years old, it makes sense now in your adulthood, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, being exposed to different people, a different way of life, everybody doing their own different things. Yeah, I think childhood is a big development stage for
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
where you learn so many things, where you learn so many things that build character, that develop your personality, um, and just basically gives you morals and values that you will carry throughout the rest of your life. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was my childhood. Oh, and I had lots and lots and lots of pets throughout my childhood in
Lots of pets.
Mabopane. Always
Ah.
had dogs. We always had dogs at home. Much later, when I was in high school, we started having cats,
Okay.
because my mom is very scared of snakes, and we live in a mountainous area. So there's
Okay.
in summer, there's a lot of snakes going around. So then
Yes.
we started keeping cats. Yeah, then we started keeping cats. And then at some point, I think we also had fish. So
Oh,
my dad loves
yeah.
animals,
Okay.
although he's not in any career that has to do with animals, but he loves them. I mean, anytime you catch him watching TV, he's watching
It's like,
National
ah,
Geographic.
National Geographic. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Speaking about childhood, that's quite fascinating. When you said you grew up around a lot of animals, and you're right, like our childhoods have a way of influencing and impacting in terms of the decisions and the paths that we go on. I'm curious, especially for maybe young people who are listening to us, because now the opportunities in South Africa have become vast in terms of you literally
Mhm.
can be what you want to be.
Whatever, whatever you
You
want to
know,
be.
are there any particular subjects that you focused on in school that enabled your path into this field to be easier? Or maybe even before we get to that, maybe let me ask that the other way around. Um, what was your was it a conscious decision to go into the field of being a vet? Yeah, maybe let's start there. What led you to say, actually, this is what I want to do with my life?
Funny story. Growing up, I always wanted to be a pilot because my dad comes from the East End, okay? And long ago, we used to drive past the airport every time to get there. So I
Mm.
was fascinated by the airplanes every time. I was like, I want to drive one of those, right? So I think all of my primary, going into high school, I was set on becoming a pilot. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I got to grade 11, and I think we had aviation people come to visit.
Yeah.
And I spoke to them, and they told me, so you need these subjects, and it was fine. But then my chemistry teacher was like, but you are short, you're not going to make the cut. I'm like, are you kidding me? You know? So my dreams were like shattered at that point, but I didn't go and inquire at the school. That was my fault.
Ah,
Okay,
sure.
so I gave up on that because that teacher said to me, you're
Said,
too short, you're
sure,
not
what
going to
people
make
see
the
as so. Mm.
right. So, but then grade 11, applications are open to university. I need to make a decision.
Mm.
I'm doing maths, mathematics, biology, physical science and chemistry, and accounting sciences, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I've always known that I will get into the science field. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know what yet, either science or engineering.
Mm.
Um, but although I did enjoy accounting, I was not
Mm.
a numbers girl. Okay, so I knew that I'm not doing. I
I ain't doing
very early
that.
decided, look, I enjoy the subject, it's great, but I'm not going into the numbers. Recon, bank recon, debit,
Hey,
credit,
hey,
no, I'm not doing
hey.
that. That I'm not doing. But I've always known that I will get into the sciences. Which
Yes.
sciences? Sorry for another day. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we went for open days, right, at the
Yeah.
University of Pretoria. Then we visited the engineering college or school.
Yeah.
And it was a bit daunting, right? It was a bit hard for me because I was considering civil engineering. So that I found a bit hard. I'm like, nah, maybe not. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Then my other option was statistics. But then I thought, that's numbers again. Nah.
Yeah.
Yep. Then I'm like, let's consider the medical field. But I know I don't want to go into human medicine because I'm scared of corpses. I don't want to work on a corpse, okay? Because just now I need to work on somebody I can recognize. I'm not going to be able to. Right. Then
Yeah.
I thought, what is left? Then I'm like, but hey, wait a minute. Growing up, you had animals. You love these
Yeah.
animals. When they got sick, who ran with bandages? You did.
Ah. Ah.
When they got loose or ran into the streets, you were the first one to run after them. You do have a love for animals. So maybe let's try veterinary sciences,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And funny enough, on my way to school, because I went to a school in Pretoria here, Iona Convent, I used to travel by bus from Mabopane to town. And we
Yes.
went past, so the route we took went past the veterinary campus. Okay. And every time I would just stay into that place, like, I wonder what's going on here, Because you'd see people walking the horses, and then just now you see owners with their dogs going to the hospital. So that was very intriguing for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, maybe I should consider this.
Yeah.
And that's basically how I ended up applying. So I'm like, let me take a chance, apply and see how far I get. And
Yeah.
here we are.
Wow. Sure. And it's so amazing. Okay, but I do want to ask though this question. As you mentioned about initially your dream was to be a pilot. Do you have you let go of that, or do you feel that
No.
this is? I was
Nope,
curious.
I haven't let go of that. I actually
Yeah.
want to acquire a private license. So yeah.
Please fly me on my private jet.
When I have when I have the license, yes.
But wow, that is fascinating. I obviously again high level. I have a high level understanding of what a vet does. For me, it's like
Mm.
an animal doctor. But I
Yes,
want
basically.
to.
Yeah.
Is that basically it? But maybe in your own professional terms, for lack of a better word, because I remember when we were talking and catching up, you mentioned that there's the academic side of the field, and then there's obviously the professional side of the field, and maybe because can you educate us on what exactly are the day-to-day responsibilities and the differences between those two.
Mhm.
I guess not fields because it's the same field, but those two areas of the veterinary sciences. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, what a veterinarian is an animal doctor. What a
Yeah.
human doctor is to humans is what we
Mm,
are to animals. So we take care of animal health and the animal welfare of animals. Okay. So that means when they are sick, we can treat them, we diagnose and we treat. And then we also give advice on how to take care of animals, be it domestic companion animals or livestock. Okay.
okay. Yeah.
But there's also wildlife Okay?
Like the
There's
lions
also
that can eat.
wildlife animals like the lions and the rhinos and the elephants that we take care of. But that's more specialized. Okay. But
Ah,
in a nutshell, we
okay,
take care of the animal's health and welfare.
okay, all right.
Okay. And so veterinary science is quite broad. Okay.
Mm,
You can specialize then, as I mentioned, in companion animals, which are horses, dogs, and cats. Okay. You
mhm,
can work in the laboratory. Okay. So where you do clinical trials for medicine or vaccines. And then there you're going to be working with
mm,
lab animals, which include mice and guinea pigs and
sure.
things like that. Okay. Then you can go into wildlife, like I mentioned.
Yes,
So there is health, yes, but it's more conservation work. Okay.
yes, yes.
So we
Yeah.
work with the wild animals to preserve them, to stop them
Mm,
from being
mm,
extinct. Okay.
interesting. Mm, mm,
So it's more conservation, but also animal health. So if anything happens, there's a lion and it bites
yeah,
something, then we can go in and treat whatever animal was hunted or is injured at that point.
yeah.
Yeah, and if they need to get surgery, we can also do that in the field as
Okay.
veterinarians. Okay.
Yeah.
Then there's academia, okay, which
Mhm,
is where I'm at. So you can either teach. So in the
mm,
profession, there are many professions, okay? So there's veterinarians, and then there are what we call para-veterinarians, okay?
mm,
So the para-veterinarians are the veterinary nurses, they are the animal health technicians, they are the
mhm,
lab technologists, and they are the laboratory animal assistants. Okay. Oh, and then
yeah.
there's also physiology now, physiology or physiotherapy. Veterinary physiotherapy. Yes, there's veterinary physiotherapy as well.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So all these professions
Spreadsheet.
belong under one umbrella.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
That is governed by the
Mhm,
South African Veterinary Council. Okay.
okay.
So all these professions then belong to the SAVC, the South African Veterinary Council. So in academia, I am training the animal
Mm,
health technicians. Okay.
okay.
And they are basically our eyes in the field.
Yes.
Okay. So they go out and visit communities and visit farms
Mm,
and give advice on feeding, nutrition,
yeah.
parasites, all of those things. But they don't diagnose. That's where we come in. Okay.
Oh,
So they can
yeah.
treat, yes, they can treat, they can give advice, but they don't diagnose. So if there's a
Okay.
major problem, then they call us in and then
Yeah.
we will then take over and then give a diagnosis and then treat further on. Okay.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
train in academia. We are training at UNISA. We are training animal health technicians.
Mm,
It's a 3-year diploma. And then after that, you can go into the field and work as part of the state. You can work at the abattoirs. You can work in pharmaceutical companies.
mm.
And then now they have given them a bit of freedom. They can actually open up their own businesses
Oh,
and
wow.
sell medication. Yeah, and sell medication and vaccines and stuff like that. So yeah, there's quite a lot to do in the
Wow.
in the sector. There's a lot happening. But so my day to day is lecturing, teaching, sharing
Mm,
knowledge. Yeah, love for my love of students.
yeah. And I'm just curious for these guys that you teach, the subjects. Again, it's an assumption. You can correct me. Should they have the science subjects like mathematics, physical science, biology, and of course the love for animals? Okay.
Yes. Okay, so the love for animals is debatable.
That is interesting.
I'll tell you that. I'll tell you why that is. Okay, so, but the
Okay.
subjects that you need are maths, okay,
Yeah.
and not maths literacy, pure maths. We need
Yeah.
maths.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
life sciences is what it's called today.
Oh, yeah.
So
I
either
can
life
see
sciences
that.
or natural sciences. Physics and chemistry is natural
Yeah.
sciences. So yes,
Okay.
mathematics, life sciences, and natural sciences that you need to get into all of the professions under the Veterinary Council.
Okay.
All of them. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. And now I'm
Okay.
curious. You're saying the
So
love for animals is
the love
debatable.
of animals, yes, it's debatable. Um, because of the training. Because of the training, the intensity, and everything
Yeah.
that you are exposed to. If you love animals too much, you will not want to do the work,
Ah.
because
Okay.
sometimes you have to put down animals. You literally have to euthanize them
Oh,
and
sure.
put them to sleep. And that is not an easy thing to do, because then you have to comfort the owner and say, so and so, I'm sorry, your dog or your cat has a terminal disease. We can't do anything for it. We need to put it down. And you can't be emotional at that point. You see?
Sure.
So it's not.
You know, that's fascinating for me, because then I'm led with a certain level of curiosity around um, co- um, what is then the core of what makes one want to be an animal doctor. Similar to what is the core of what makes one want to be a human doctor. Do you understand? Because human doctors as well, there are instances where they have to make those hard decisions, and sometimes
Decisions. Yeah.
they don't give, there are some doctors where you're like, I come down, where they'll be like, you're not gonna live. And it's like, calm down.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's still something for me that I believe leads you to want to, there's still to save life, right? Whether it's the animal's life or the human life.
Yes.
So what is
Yes.
the umbrella that leads one, do you think, to perhaps want to work in the animal health space?
Yes, so I think a lot of us in the field love animals, yes, but there has to be something bigger that you want to achieve. So
Mm,
you love animals, but you want to preserve them. You want to take care of them.
mm,
You
mm,
want them to
mm,
grow. You want them to produce. You want to
mm,
get 1, 2, 3 animal products out of them.
mm,
So
mm,
it's
mm.
much like it's a debate that we have with communal farmers out in the rural
Yeah,
areas. They just want to keep cattle. The more cattle they have, the
yeah,
the richer, or the more status they think they have. But
yeah,
if you're keeping these animals and they're not producing, they're not giving you calves, it's it's not viable,
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
money for you. So you're
yeah,
keeping an animal and it's 10 years old and it's not giving you anything. It's just showing
sure.
you money,
Yeah.
so there needs to be a bigger picture um, as to why you are doing this. Why?
Okay. The why. Yeah. So you know what? Jumping now, I think from that last point, I think it lands in beautifully to the crux of the topic of today's conversation. So, we titled the conversation "Animal Welfare: Tips for Responsible Pet and Livestock Care," particularly during the holiday and Christmas season, right? Um, uh, and I'm going to be a bit controversial in some moments here, but before my controversy, I want you to maybe, as a professional and from what you've seen, maybe begin to just share with us what are some of the things that people need to really start thinking about. Maybe you can start with the pets, the domestic animals. I think you call them communal animals, and then the
Companion.
communal,
Yeah.
sorry, and then the livestock in terms of these are just, I mean, obviously you can't share an entire thesis, but just everyday language basics that especially pet owners and livestock owners and those who want to own livestock, because people say, yeah, I want to own livestock, but they don't
Farm, I
understand.
want to a farm.
I want to be and they don't understand. It sounds cool, but they don't understand the intricacies of what that actually means.
Yeah.
Or even now, the trend of owning a pet. I don't know if you've seen. Everybody owns those cute little fluffy dogs.
Small
But I
little cute
even
ones,
wonder
yeah.
if people take those dogs to a vet. And okay, here's the controversy. Growing up in the township, I also grew up in the township. And maybe it's something you will educate us. I remember when we would have these functions and ceremonies, and you would know, Black people were always slaughtering some cow, having a function, and then there'll be these leftovers, and as people would pay to pack into the black plastic bags, and they'll say,
For the
Sporty will
dogs.
eat. At least the cats, cats are better. They still get milk and things. But I feel like dogs get given
Yeah.
everything. So
Poor
dogs,
dogs.
please educate us. Should we be giving our pets all of this left over from our yeah?
Right,
Please
so
educate
let's start with this one, right?
yeah.
Let's start with this. I always get funny looks when I tell people, don't feed your dogs bones. Do not feed them bones.
Mm,
And I get funny looks like, what are you talking about? Mpya e jama rapo, like that's just what it is, And I'm like, but no, guys, it's not safe.
yeah,
Because you know what happens with bones? They've got sharp ends and they can get stuck.
so
They can get stuck along the digestive tract, and then that creates big problems. Okay? So you can get abscesses from that, you can get ulcers from that. Sometimes they need to be rushed to surgery because of the damage that can happen in the digestive tract. So, to just clear from that, don't feed your dogs bones. Do not.
so do not feel. Oh, guys, I hope we're learning, because this is a big behavior shift for us,
For
our
us,
people,
Black people.
because all
No,
we
totally,
know is
totally,
what we do.
totally. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
And
Tips
I
then.
think in the beginning of the conversation, you also spoke about a dog that was chained down and you felt sorry for it. That's also a common practice amongst us Black people. I will say that as well. You own a dog, maybe you've got an open yard, you don't have a gate, but you have this dog and you need to restrict it somehow, and then you chain it down. That is not advisable. Okay,
Sure.
it's actually not allowed because you are not a pet person. Look how it made you feel. Okay, now consider what the dog is going through because they also have feelings. Okay, they also have feelings. Now, on the topic of animal welfare, we basically describe animal welfare around, or it's centered around these 5 things. Okay, the first one is it's centered around 5 freedoms. We call them the 5 freedoms of animal welfare. The first one is freedom from hunger and thirst. Okay, so it means animals need to be fed, they need to be given water. Okay, the second one is freedom from discomfort. Okay, so as you're seeing chained down like that, you are restricting the dog from natural behavior that
Sure.
that is illegal. Okay, it's going against the rights of the animal. Okay, the other one is freedom from pain, injury, and disease. Okay, so you're not supposed to inflict pain. And if they've got any injuries, take them to the vet or call the nearest person you can to be able
Yeah.
to come and help you sort out that injury. And also disease. If they are sick, they need to be treated, much like people, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, much like people. If you are not
Yes.
feeling well, you need help. You need to be
Yeah.
treated. The other one is freedom from fear and distress. Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, so you're not supposed to put them under stress. You're not supposed to scare them.
Wow.
Prodding, hitting, shouting, that is
Oh.
stressful for animals. It's not a natural environment for them to be in. And then the
Yo.
last one is freedom to express normal behavior. So let a wild animal be a wild animal. Let a dog behave as a dog. Let a cat be a cat. Cats are nocturnal animals. They are hunters by nature. So let them go out and roam, because that's what they do. They catch mice and they bring them in. That's their natural behavior. Okay, so when you keep animals, you need to keep these 5 things in mind to say, I'm actually taking care. I've got the responsibility to address all these freedoms and make sure that the animal is well taken care of. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's basically what animal welfare is ensuring a good mental, physical, and emotional state of the animal, addressing these 5 points. Okay. So tips to take care of animals during the festive seasons. I think you spoke about fireworks. That's the biggest one during the festive season. Everybody likes fireworks. We're crossing over into a new year. It's all fun and games, but it's
Yeah.
very stressful for animals. I
Yeah.
think anybody who owns pets will see the reaction in their pets when that is happening. It's not a good sign. Okay? So what needs to happen at that point is you let them into the house or into an enclosed room. If you have a garage, put them in there so that they are away from the noise. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yes. You can also play soothing music, okay, to calm them down. They will listen to music. So you put them in an enclosed room, play soft music, and that is going to calm them down. You can also get anxiolytics, which is anti-anxiety medication. You can get that as prescribed medication from the veterinarian.
Okay.
Okay,
Sure.
so that's that on fireworks. Another thing is that because during the festive season, there's a lot happening, there's a lot of movement. It's busy, people are busy, and pets, especially, are more likely to get lost at that point. Okay, so if people can afford to, they must get their dogs microchipped. Okay, so what a microchip is a tag, okay, that we put in between the shoulders under the skin, and
Yes.
it's got the owner's details. It's got the name of the pet, it's got the owner's details. So if the animal gets lost, somebody can pick it up and take it to the nearest vet clinic, and then the clinic can then scan over the shoulders there, and the tag will be picked up, and then we can locate the owner.
Wow. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think those are the top tips that I
Yeah.
can give for festive season. Unfortunately, for livestock, it's a bit tricky
Yes.
because most of them are kept outside, you know.
Yes.
But it also just make sure all of them are together in a safe
Yeah.
place. Um, I think some things we can't shy away from or we can't prevent. I think I read last month when there was that terrible rain, a farmer in Northwest lost about 60 cattle to lightning. Yeah, it
6-0.
happens. Yeah, 6-0. It happens. Okay. So
Yo.
that is just a natural occurrence. You can't do
Can you
anything about it.
insure your livestock?
Pardon?
Can you insure like if I own
Yes, so that's
livestock?
where I'm getting to. So if you
Okay.
are a farmer, remember, farming is
Mm,
a business, so you need
mm,
insurance. You definitely need
okay.
insurance. Yeah.
Okay.
So I hope that farmer did insure his animals,
Yeah.
because stuff like that can happen.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Um, okay, I see we're starting to get questions, and I'm loving that Jabulile posted a question which we'll get to. So if there's anyone else who has a question, please can you start sharing those questions? because I'm about to wrap up on my side, and then we will then get to the audience questions. Yeah, girls, I'm so fascinated. You are, and I'm seeing the comments. People are loving this, like they're loving your insights, your knowledge, guys. I'm so grateful to this amazing woman. I'm learning a lot because I think there's been so much, like even things like the bones. Something as simple as that we didn't know. Things about, you mentioned about those 5 principles of welfare or 5 principles of animal welfare. I think you've just changed our lives, because I feel like a lot of people, especially our people, we want to own animals, but I don't know if there's enough knowledge about the fact that animals are as important as us. Do you understand what I mean? It's funny, I was reading, somebody like me who's obviously a Christian, I was reading Genesis again. For some reason, something in my spirit was like, read the story of creation. And I was so fascinated to learn that the humans and domestic animals were actually created together on the same day, on the sixth day. And I said to myself, this is interesting, because I think as humans, we have an over index of the human consciousness, and we forget
superiority even.
Yeah, and we forget, number one, that we share the earth with Mother Nature, number one. That's why I cringe when, let's say, I'm driving with somebody and they're eating a packet of chips and then they open the window and they want to throw
it out.
The packet. For me, it's the insensitivity around understanding that, the earth gives us life. Our food comes from the earth. And we also share the earth with animals. The dogs, they're not just here, the wildlife, the birds, the fish. We are all actually co-inhabitants of this earth. And there's a reason why, all of us are part of the earth's ecological system. Right?
Yes.
And I think maybe that's why this conversation, as much as I'm not and when I say I'm not a pet person in the sense that I don't own pets, and I think if I ever were to own them, I'm so grateful that I've had this conversation and this knowledge with you, because I'm much more conscious, going into it, that, hey, you don't just get a dog. There's so many things that you have to consider. And I think maybe my final 2 questions are: what are some of the gaps that you notice in terms of, people? There's still abuse around, animals. What are some of those gaps that you notice? Or let's start there. Are people even aware that they need to take their animals to vets? Do people complain about taking the animal to vets? And maybe you can even touch on what are the costs of actually taking an animal to a vet. Can I put a vet under my medical aid? Educate us about some of those things.
Okay. So where do I start? I think there's 3 questions in your question now.
I got carried away.
Let's start with some of the bad practices that we notice, right? I think a big one is dog fighting. Okay, you will see people in the townships going around with pit bulls and wanting them to fight. Okay, that is very bad practice. That is very bad practice. It's bad animal welfare. It doesn't benefit anybody. Okay, it's just vicious and out of control. And I think that is something that we need to work our way from. Because I understand, like, there's a lot of dog breeds. Some are naturally vicious, but people want it to be extra. Okay, people want it to be extreme, and then they want to show off that my dog is more vicious than yours. But that doesn't help the animal. It's actually very traumatic. Okay, to have an animal fight over another one and then they maul each other. Okay, some people train their dogs to be so vicious. I mean, every now and then in the news we get a neighbor walking in the street and they were
Yeah.
chowed by a pit bull, you know, or the child in the yard was attacked by their own dog, because the owners are training it to be vicious against humans even, which is not natural. It's not natural behavior for animals. Dogs are companion animals. That's what they are supposed to be. Yes, there are different breeds that have got different characteristics. Some are very territorial, some are guarding, some are, you know, so they've got their own level of work that they need to do. But dogs are mainly companion animals, and that's what they should be.
It's beautiful.
Your own dog that you own shouldn't turn against you one day. It shouldn't be. Right. Another bad practice, but I think that is being slowed down now because it's illegal. People used to practice ear docking, ear and torso, ear clipping. So they clip the ears and tails, okay, to just make the dog look a certain way. But those procedures are actually very painful. So we are going against one of the animal welfare freedoms, pain, injury, and disease. Those procedures are very painful and they are unnecessary, okay? Because it's just a cosmetic appearance. It's for the appearance. There's no benefit for the dog to be clipped. So that is actually illegal now. If any of the welfare organizations or even vets catch you doing that, then you will land into a lot of trouble. I think those are the two. I think those are the top two bad practices that I've noticed. We also spoke about the dogs being chained. As much as you can, allow your pets to have freedom of movement. If there's no other way, like you have no other options, then you can chain it. But every once in a while, get it off the chain, take it for a walk, give it a good wash, give it food, take care of it. It shouldn't be chained for the rest of its life. That's not normal. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. And then please talk to us.
What else did you ask me? I think you asked something else.
About the cost, because
about the cost, yes. So if
I'm
people are aware, okay, yes. So I find it more and more people are invested in animal welfare and in taking care of their animals. I mean, we go out into communities to do primary animal health work, service, okay? So you will find, and usually it's poor communities that we visit, but the condition of the animals is top tier, okay? So you can see that people really love these pets. They're not just keeping them. So they do take care of them. Obviously, we advocate that give dog or pets the correct food, but if it's a struggle between buying yourself food and buying food for the animal, you can share meals, okay? So if you can't afford to buy pet food, you can share what you are eating with the dog. So pap is a good source of food. Mince and soya, good sources of food, okay? People will make memes. No bones, just not bones.
But the other softer things, the dog
Soft,
can.
yes. All the soft things that the dog can digest and eat. Pardon?
What do cats eat?
Cats have their own formulation of cat food as well, but they also eat soft food. So they can eat pap, they can eat milk, they can eat chicken, they can eat liver. So they can eat quite a variety of foods. Yeah, they do.
Okay, cool. All right.
Oh, and then cost. So we were going on to the cost, right? So we were saying, yes, people are aware that animals need to be taken care of, and it does come at a cost, okay? Because primary animal health care includes good nutrition, so you need to buy food. Sometimes animals fall ill or sick. They've got diseases. They need to be treated. Okay, so that is a cost. Another important thing is that there are always diseases, endemic diseases that we find in our country in different locations that we need to prevent. So like babies that get their vaccinations every 6 months, every 3 months, dogs are the same. They need to get a certain number of vaccines to prevent diseases. A big disease is rabies. So we advocate that animals are vaccinated against rabies. So that also comes at a cost. But the state, so we've got state veterinarians and animal health technicians. Sometimes they run free campaigns and then give free vaccinations for those type of diseases. Okay, so but people are very responsible. They know that, listen, this is a dog. I'm taking care of it. I love it. There are some basic things that I need to provide for the dog. Okay, but veterinary costs are quite expensive, I must say. So if you were to take your dog to be vaccinated at a private practice, be prepared to pay
So how
five,
much?
600 rand. Five, six
Okay.
hundred rand just for vaccinations.
Consultation.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
depending on if the animal is sick and the complexity of the sickness, the costs can go up. Okay,
Yeah.
the costs
Yeah.
do come up because you've got vets that specialize in internal medicine. You got vets that specialize in orthopedic and surgery. You get vets that specialize in just livestock work, you know, so it varies, the costs vary. So yeah, but it does cost quite a lot. But there is insurance. Dot Shaw and Pet
Oh, nice.
Shaw are your friends. So it's like
So it's
medical
like
aid that we
medical
have
aid
for
for dogs.
humans. You can,
Yeah.
yes,
I
you
like
can
that.
insure your
Yeah.
pets with those two companies. I think those are the two that are very common these days. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you do, everybody, if you really want to own a pet or a livestock, it is a responsibility like anything. It's like bringing a child into the world. Well, a responsible human that brings a child into the world, there's certain things that you have to now sacrifice and make sure that you have the money and whatever. So, all right, girls, I see we're running out of time and I really want to get to the questions. People are sending questions through. Okay, let's start with the first question from Jabulile Ratebe. Hi, Jabulile. Hope you're good. And the question is, am I allowed to own is it an alpaca?
Alpaca.
Alpaca. And then, and under what circumstances am I allowed to own one? So we only have 10 minutes, well, less than 10 minutes to answer all of these 5 questions. So go for it.
Okay, so Jabulile, if you live on a farm, you can own an alpaca, but they are not sole animals, so you can't just own one. You must own a group of them because they are social animals. Please, but you need to live in a farm. You can't own an alpaca when you're living in the city. They are farm animals, so they need to have a farm environment.
Okay, hope you answered Jablin. What's an alpaca? Okay, I'll
An
probably have
alpaca is
to.
like a llama. Have you seen it? It's like a fuzzy, woolly, long thing. It's very cute.
Oh, that dog.
Um,
Is
it's
it a
not a
dog?
dog. It's almost like a sheep or a goat, but it's got a long neck. And we shave it
Oh,
for its hair. That's where we get like more hair.
okay. Okay, interesting.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes,
All
yes,
right,
yes.
interesting. Thanks. I'll probably go check that out. And then we have
Yeah.
Nana. I think it's well, this spelled double thing. Nana Ratebe. She's like, Dr. Kele, thank you so much for the education. What makes certain breed of dogs wild to a point of attacking humans? I think you touched on that, but you can expand a bit more.
Yeah, I did touch on that. So, naturally, you will get vicious dogs, okay? Um,
Mm.
but attacking humans is learned behavior. Okay,
Yeah.
it's taught behavior. So like I said, I think I did mention, if you own a pet, it's not supposed to turn on you because you are the master of the pet, not the other way around.
Mm,
It should listen to what you are saying. Okay, so you do get different breeds of dogs, and some are more vicious than others, but they should never get to a point where they are turning on humans. No.
okay. Yeah. And then we have another question. I think this is my dad. Can I feed my pets raw meat? Dad, no. Well, I don't know actually. I'm not the doctor.
No, the answer is no. Cook the
So you,
meat and then you can
oh
feed it.
wow.
Yes, cook the meat and then you can feed it. What value is there to giving a pet raw meat?
Mm. So,
For me,
so
there's
is
no
it
value.
only
If
wild animals that eat? Sorry to disturb you, Dr. Gels. Is it only wild animals that eat raw meat? Because I've seen when we go on safari, often people will throw wild raw meat to the wild animals. So is there a difference why wild animals can consume raw meat and pets can't consume raw meat? Okay.
wild animals are exactly that, out in the wild, fending for themselves. Okay,
Mm,
so their source of food is another animal, and there's no way of cooking that. Okay, but
yeah.
pets, livestock, domesticated animals, we have
Yeah.
brought into the human interface, and
Yeah.
therefore their diet has also adapted.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so their
Yeah.
diet and their needs have changed and
Yeah.
adapted to the human interaction interface.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah.
quite brilliant. Wow, guys. I am so this has been one of my favorite conversations for somebody who doesn't consider themselves a pet person. This has been so insightful, amazing. Dr. Gels, we left with just two minutes. I just want to check in with you. Are there any final concluding thoughts on your side that you would like to share with us before we close the conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I spoke a lot about companion animals and the pets
Mhm.
being cats and dogs, but we didn't touch much into the livestock aspect
Mm,
of things. Um, So taking care of livestock becomes important in terms of food safety. Okay. So they
mm,
are a source of protein for us. We
mm.
consume them. So we need to also ensure that they are taken care of. They are free from disease because there are diseases that we can pick up from animals and
Yeah.
come to us. You know,
Yeah.
so it's very important that livestock owners are also aware that they have a responsibility of taking
Yeah.
care of animals, making sure they are
Mhm.
free from disease, taken care of.
Mm.
And then, so it's a whole value chain, if I may put
Yes.
it that way. Okay,
Yes.
so care
Yes.
starts from the farm, by the farmer, ensuring that the environment is conducive,
Mm.
the animals are being well fed, they're taken care of, they are free from disease. While they are being transported to the abattoir, transportation needs to be adequate. The
Mm.
floors need to be, adequate so that the animals don't slip, they are not injured in there, because that
Mm.
brings down the value of the meat if
Mm.
bruises are found in the abattoir, right? In the abattoir itself, animal welfare needs to be practiced. You can't scream, you can't kick, you can't shout at the animals. Everything needs to be peaceful, and
Sure.
hygiene. Hygiene is a big one.
100%.
Um, so those procedures, okay,
Yeah.
are also need to be taken care of. And also handling, once you have the product, once you have the piece of meat on your plate, you
Mm.
also need to make sure that you're washing your hands before you touch
Yes.
the food. Because if
Sure.
you are infected, yeah, if you have some bacteria or a bug on your hands, you are transferring it onto the food, and then you can make other people ill, you
Yeah.
know? So
Sure.
care needs to be taken all the way down the food chain so that everybody is happy.
Yeah.
And I think people are becoming more and more conscious of
Yeah.
free range, free
Yes.
range. And yeah, consumers now know their rights to say no. Were there any pesticides or antibiotics
Mm-hmm.
used in this
Mm-hmm.
animal? And are they were the withdrawal periods seen or looked after? So those are becoming more and more visible these days. So
Yeah.
it's just everyone's responsibility to ensure that we have safe food to eat.
Yeah, that is powerful.
Yeah.
It actually, you saying that reminded me of there was if you remember a while ago, there was an outbreak with, was it Listerine, something like that.
Listeria,
Listeria,
yes.
yeah. And it
Mhm.
just reminded me about how sensitive this food security is, that it's we are, you're right, we are really so interconnected. So you can't just say, oh well, it's the supermarket's job or the farmer's job to think. We all have to be educated, we all have to make sure that the farmers are doing the right thing, the guys who transport the animals, the abattoir, because at the end of the day we need to eat that those animals, like, and even to the point we said earlier, the festive season, I think, you're gonna see all the recipes are already out. Almost every recipe has an animal in it.
Yeah.
But before the
Yeah.
animal lands in your supermarket and or on your plate, there's a whole value chain around how do we make sure that they're treated well. Some guy even said, which I thought was so profound, even spiritually, he was saying sometimes we wonder why we're sick because some of these animals have been so abused. You are eating an animal that died in pain, and you wonder why you're not well. So we actually had to really deeply care about animals as part of the people we are, or not the people, but the species rather, that we are co-inhabiting the earth with.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, thanks, Dr. Gels. Thank you, everybody, for joining in, for the questions. And yeah, remember, as I said, you can even watch, for those guys who are watching this conversation for the first time, we've had other conversations on the platform. They're inspired by my book, Thinking in Full Color. You can find the book on my website, Pen the Vision, like you just, the name of the YouTube page, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram. I don't know where else I am. Bongeka Mhlongo, you can DM me. Dr. Gels, where can people find you and reach out to you if they want to consult, whatever help that they may need? You can just let us know.
Yeah, I am also on LinkedIn, Malepe, Instagram, Keleabetswe Malepe. So reachable on those two platforms.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Bye.